Hey everybody. I was like, you know what? Let me come on live real quick now that Gia asleep. I wanted to go and come on live for a minute, but I couldn't because Gia was just not allowing me to do that. So I'm gonna give it a couple of seconds for more people to come into the live. Happy New Year. Okay. Happy New Year. Hey everybody. Hey everyone. So this is the first time that I'm using just my computer to go live. I usually have like this whole streaming setup, but being as though like everything is in Panama, I'm using this. So I can't see. I'm trying to see where. Let me see if you guys can see this. Can you guys see the chat on the bottom? Can you hear me? Can you guys see the chat? Can you guys hear me? This is a whole different setup. This is the free version, the free 99 version of my live stream. Can y'all hear me? Yes, no, maybe so. Maybe. I have no idea if you guys can hear me. No one's saying anything, so I don't know if you can hear. Let me see. Where do I find? What is this? I'm still waiting to see if somebody could hear me. Happy New Year 2026. I'm so excited to start this live. Sure the lighting is good. Oh, this is good. This is real good. Welcome everyone to the live stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who's in here? See, I don't like this setup. Like usually like I have a whole streaming system. Okay. I finally I can see someone there. I usually have like a whole streaming system where I can see everyone who's entering the chat from where, what. Again, all my equipment is in Panama because I didn't really have I wasn't supposed to stay, as you guys know from the videos before. Happy New Year, feliz año nuevo. Guys, look at my whole eyelash just fell off. What the hell? Well, so anyway, as I take off these lashes, they lasted a while. How was everyone's New Year? What did you guys do? Did you go to any parties, any celebrations? Yeah, these clusters are amazing. They're so quick. You save money. I've been doing a lot of DIY stuff because literally everything is so expensive. Like, I don't even know how people are affording life right now. Okay. I have no idea how people are affording life. I was talking to my friend, and she's a true definition of a hustler. Like, she's actually very inspiring. She gets things done by any means necessary. She gets things done. She doesn't do anything illegal though. But she is such an inspiration, especially like for me, like when I have like questions about like whatever it is, she's always there to help me out, to give me good advice. She's actually, I think she's like 5 years older than me, but she's like really an inspiration because she is someone that is just about her business. Like, she gets things done. She is not the type of person, like, she doesn't look like what she's going through. She's always very happy go lucky, you know. And it's really hard to find people like that. Like, even when I first got here, I was really depressed, guys. Like, I was super depressed when I first got here. Like, I was just like, wow, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, my whole life, everything was just built on me being in Panama. And then to come here, not even prepared, like, I wasn't even prepared at all. Um, and then literally to start from scratch and like really hustling to get things done, she really helped me. Like, there was a time, so all right, so let me give you guys the whole like rundown on how everything transpired. So you guys already saw the story. If you haven't checked out my video about why I left Panama, the information is there, so I don't have to go back to repeat that again. But the way things worked out, everything literally like happened so fast, and it was just like everything was just happening. I swear, I think this girl's a witch. Like, I say this, right? So when I came down and we found out, because she was the one who told me, right? This is the girl that I'm talking about. She was the one who told me, like, hey, like, because she took me to the doctor, to my doctor's appointment. And when she took me to my doctor's appointment, she said, well, I told you guys this, the doctor's office was right across the street from DOE. So she was like, oh, why you just don't go there and, just check to see, your son's situation or whatever, and make sure that he's straight or whatever, so that when he does come back to go to college, you already know, like, whatever, just checking his status or whatever in DOE. And plus, another thing that I realized, because I wasn't here for so long, somebody was using my social security number. They was using my social security. They claimed my son on their taxes. At the time, I only had Gia. So I kind of always wanted to keep track and know what's going on, especially with my credit, right? Anyway, she told me, like, once we figured out what was going on, she was like, girl, you need to find a job that is going to allow you to be on the same schedule as your kids. She knew how difficult it was for me, because literally, like, I was used to like being there for my kids, like being home when they got home from school, or even when I was at the store working, if they needed something, I could just go run home and take care of whatever I needed to take care of. So for me, the most difficult thing was I didn't want to get caught up in the regular New York City life where you're working, 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 and you cannot take care of your kids because you're so busy working, you're not there for your kids. I am a strong believer, I am not knocking anybody, and people do what they have to do. But my mother always say the devil find work for idle people. And when you are working all the time and you're not paying attention to your kids, he comes for your children. Hey, Nubian cutie. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I still would be able to do those things, the same things that Amir had, and he had me, basically. I wanted to do the same thing here. So that was one of the most difficult things that I had to deal with. And then, but you know what? God knew. He knew my heart. He knew what I needed. He knew what I needed, and he knew what I wanted. When I tell you guys, so I was working remote, and this is how crazy. Listen to this story, right? Okay. So I was working remote when I was in Panama, and I was working remote and I was still working in the store. This particular company that I was working for, they have like different programs. I was working part-time as a remote admin. right? I was working there for a year, but prior to that, I had said, like, damn, I need a part time job to supplement the income that I'm losing due to Panama's economy, right? Boom. My cousin had sent me an email, like, they looking for a job or whatever. They're looking for someone for this position, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for me. I end up getting the position. And for me, it was cool because it was part time. I was working from home. Um, the business was slow, but I was still able to make up whatever I was missing with that part-time remote position. It was only like 4 hours a day, I think it was. um oh, I'm so happy, yay. It was only like 4 hours out the day, so it still wasn't taking up too much of the things that I needed to do. I was able to go to the store and still deal with whatever else I needed to take care of, and I was still being able to take care of my kids and be there for my kids. My whole thing is, like, I wanted to be present, like a present parent. When I tell you guys, when I came for the summer, I was still working or whatever, and then randomly, I was only here for like 2 weeks. Okay, randomly, I get this phone call, and they're like, "Hey, it's from this agency, right?" So I had applied to this agency a year prior to, and I only knew that because I was like, I don't even know how these people even got my number. But when I checked back in my email, I realized that I had sent an email to this agency for remote work back in 2024. Okay, remember that. So I'm here for 2 weeks. No, I wasn't even here for 2 weeks. I think I was here for like 3 days. And they were like, "Oh, we have this position for you in such and such area." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so cool because um this is literally like 10 minutes from my home, right?" And they're like, "The hours is from 7 o'clock to 3 p.m." I'm like, "Oh, yes, like this is perfect. 7 o'clock to 3 p.m. This is perfect." So at the time, my sister was dropping my son off to school because my sister was home. He was dropping my son to school, and then well, Gia wasn't in school at the time. When she ended up starting, so anyway, so I'm at this place or whatever, and I'm working there, or whatever. I'm like, this is not for me. I knew for a fact that I was not going to stay there, but I knew that this was a stepping stone for whatever else. Because remember, my friend told me, you need to find a job that is going to allow you to be on the schedule of that your kids are on. That was like my whole thing. So I'm like, damn, like, so I got this job or whatever. They didn't even interview me, which was the craziest thing. Like, I did not get interviewed for the position. I just showed up there, which is crazy because one of my coworkers, who me and him is so cool now, he told me that he was interviewed for the position. They didn't interview me for the position. I just showed up there, and I'm like, oh, okay. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm only gonna stay here, make some money, and then go back to Panama. Like, I'm not planning on staying here. So I was doing that job and then also doing the other part-time job. So I had the part-time job and I was doing that job. So everything was going great, whatever, whatever. Then the part-time job, mind you, I was at the part-time job for a year and a half, right? So the part-time job was like, oh, we don't know if we're going to get funding for the following program. So they have like a summer program, then after summer program, they have a winter program. And they were like, we don't know if we're going to get funding for the winter program. No, first she told me that, yes, they were going to have funding, like if I would stay on for the winter program. I'm like, sure, like it's a part-time job. I'm home. I'm with the kids. No big deal. So I'm like, I said, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it because, my schedule, because honestly speaking, working the regular job and then the part-time job, it was starting to get to me. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is exhausting because Amir had practice. He had soccer practice. I had to pick him up from soccer, drop him off to soccer. So it was starting to get overwhelming, but it still wasn't something that was like, oh my God, it wasn't that difficult. So I told my supervisor, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay on for the winter program, because I told them that I was starting school, right? And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, the winter program, you don't have to start early, so we could work around your schedule." I'm like, "Okay, cool. If you're gonna work around my schedule, no problem." She calls me, like, this is like a month later, and she's like, "Yeah, we got feedback, and we're not gonna get funding to keep you on." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, no problem." Like, in my mind, I was like, ugh, I was over it anyway. So, I mean, they were great. Like, the program was easy. My supervisors was great. They were great people, but it was just it was a lot for me. The 2 jobs plus the man going to soccer practice, then Gia in school and picking him up. It was a lot. And I knew that I wanted to go back to school anyway, right? So I knew for a fact, I was like, okay, this is not going to work. So they were like, well, if you want to work for the summer program, hit us back up in January. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. I think they like holding on to hope that I'm gonna come back, but I had told them that I was starting grad school anyway. Um, so I said, okay, cool. So I'm working at this other place. I'm like, yeah, this is not it. Like it was convenient because it was very close to home. It was super close to Gia school. So I would drop Gia to school. Literally, it was like right there. Like it was just so convenient. But I knew Gia is sleeping, thank God. That's the only reason why I'm on here. But I knew that I was not going to be able to stay there. Being there was making me, I felt like my brain, I was getting dumber and dumber. And then not only that, I had a coworker. She was like an old miserable lady. Okay. She wasn't even cool. It was given very much like she thought that I was going to take her job. Okay. She thought I was going to take her job. Anybody ever work with somebody like that who feel like, oh, like they feel like you're a threat? Because that's what she was doing. She was making me feel like I was a threat. And I was just like, and you got to coexist with people. So I never used to pay her no mind. But then she tried to like belittle me at one point. Like she would call me from like, this is what she did to me one day. So I'm on my desk doing what I'm doing, running my reports. She calls me, okay, from my desk. Mind you, I'm sitting here, she's sitting here. We have cubicles, right? This is it. My desk is here, her desk is here. Okay, right next to each other. There's like a little in between, there's like a little walk passage. She calls me like, hey, can you come here for a second? So I get up and walk to her desk. I'm like, hey, what's up? The lady gonna tell me, can you go make a copy of this for me, please? What happened? Amir is all in the live. I said, this lady really take me for fufu. She gonna call me from my desk to go and make her a copy? Child. So my friend that was like, helping me throughout this whole process. She was like, "Oh, you need to put her in her place. You need to." I'm like, I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be a confrontational person. Like, I need to like just, you know, Sorry, I'm gonna put some ice. What? I'm gonna put some ice. Oh. And I'm just like, oh my God, whatever. So my friend kept on saying, no, you need to put her in her place. You need to put her in her place. I'm just like, I'm not doing that because I know I got my 2 kids. I need to like focus. I cannot. Anyway, I used to come home every day and complain about this lady because I'm just like, what is wrong with this lady? Take it, Amir. Who's it? Just eat it. Who's it? It's not mine. And you're going to eat it anyway. Exactly. You just told me to eat it. Yeah, I did. So let me tell you, my kids, they won't talk to me all day. Especially him. He won't talk to me all day. The minute I come on live, that's when they want to talk. They want to ask me questions. It's just, anyway, they want to get ice. So anyway, she tells me to go get the copy. And I was just like, this lady is bright and out of order, right? Anyway, I get her the copy, but in my mind, I'm saying to myself, I'm not staying here. Like, I'm not staying here. So my dad calls me and he's like, oh, such and such works such and such place, Yes, the ice. Exactly. He was watching Netflix all day today. All day he was watching Netflix, and now he decides to come out the room when I'm on live, okay, to do all of this. Anyway, and then he's like watching me while I'm on live, okay, watching and listening to his. He was in the room, cool, calm, and collected. Anyway, my dad was like, listen, such and such person, she works for, this agency or whatever, and she could get you in or whatever. You have a bachelor's degree, you'll be a great fit for this job. And I'm just like, okay. So first of all, when he told me what the job was, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But then when I found out what the job really was, I was like, this is not what you told me. However, it ended up working out in my favor. So went through the process or whatever. Whole time I'm going through the process or whatever. Yes, Amir. I'm listening to the story. Oh my God. So whole time I'm going through the process or whatever. I'm just saying, you know what? I'm going to work every day with this lady, mind you. I'm saying to myself, yo, I gotta go. So prior to that, get out of my face.
I'm listening to. Okay, I'm listening.
Prior to that, so I didn't have a car, right? So I'm like, dang, I don't have a car. This is like I'm like skipping the story. I forgot to talk about the car situation. I'll tell you the way things happen, it was just like really like a week later. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna need a car if I'm gonna be here because soccer practice. This one go to school over here. This one go to school over there. I gotta go here. I gotta get a car. So my friend was like, oh, I know this guy. Um, he works for such and such dealer. Da 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 da. She gave me the guy's number. Called the guy. We worked. I'm like, okay, listen, I need a car. I don't want a car that's expensive. I need to be able to, maintain the payments. Car insurance in New York City is ridiculous. Um, there's people here. They just not chatting. They're not engaging. I don't know why. But anyway, so I ended up getting a car quickly. I'm telling you, everything happened so fast. I ended up getting this car. After I get the car, I'm still working with this miserable lady. My dad's like, oh, such and such can help you get this position. And I'm just like, okay, well, at first I didn't want it. But then after being there with this miserable lady over here, I'm like, nah, I got to get out of here. Like, I don't care what it is. I got to get out of here. Like, something has got to give. What? So now I'm like, okay, something has got to give. I did not get, so the part-time job was no more. So I only was really depending on this particular job. The owners of the company did not want me to leave. But the crazy thing is that when I met the owner of the company, he says to me, I'm gonna just be honest with you, this is a dead end job. Who says that to someone on their first day? And then you're expecting for me to stay? Then like it didn't even make any sense. He was like, oh, we just expecting commitment, at least be here for 1 year. Then after the year, then you could do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. When he told me that, I was like, yeah, this is ghetto. But I have to humble myself. I have to humble myself, So I was humble, right? Humble and, working on the other position or whatever that my dad was telling me that somebody knew I had to upload. It was a lot of background. But luckily, the job that I had, the part-time job, um, I already had my fingerprints and everything on file. So I didn't have to pay to get fingerprints and a background check or whatever because they had all my information already in the system. It's two different agencies, but they were still linked. Crazy, right? I'm telling you, it was like meant to be. So I ended up getting this other job that I'm at now. And that whole situation, how I ended up getting that particular position in this economy, it was God sent. I'm telling you, it was like everything was like literally like connected. Like everything happened, this happened, and then this, and literally it was like I was supposed to be here. From that moment on, even like I was talking to my friend today, I told my friend today, I said, you know what? Something didn't work out for me, but they gave me another option for it to work out. And I said, I'm not gonna question why. Because one thing I realized is that every single time I've been denied an opportunity for something, it was because something better was coming along. No lies. I'm telling you, every single time I was denied something, something better came along. So the situation where, the particular situation I don't really want to talk about, it didn't work out. It didn't work out. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it not working out because guess what? This is obviously has something better lined up for me. And that's the reason why plan A didn't work out. But I have a plan B. Plan B is going to take a little bit longer for me to get to my final destination, but I'm not questioning it because so far he has not left me yet. He has not. Even with Amir with the whole school, like We're here in June. School starts in September. I don't know a thing about schools here in New York anymore. Things change. When I went to DOE, they're like, "Oh no, babes, this is not the same like how it was before." I'm like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do? I need to get him in a good school. It got to be, soccer has to be there. Happy New Year. What school am I gonna send him to? I, I want him to be able to wear uniform. I was gonna actually send him to Bishop Loughlin. I was gonna send him to Bishop Loughlin. Went to Bishop Loughlin and I had met the director. I think she was the director. Like I don't know, but she was like in charge of like admissions or something like that. And because Amir was coming from an international school, they have an international program also. So I'm thinking, is he going to be considered an international student since they're telling me this? Like, how is it going to work? He was born here, blah, blah, blah. This lady was so sweet. She did everything in her power to get Amir into that school. But somebody else gave me another recommendation for another school, and she works her butt off she put me in contact with the right person to get him into that school. The person that was helping through the process for that school, she was on it. She was on me. She's like, go do this. Cause I literally was lost. Like I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I had no clue what I was supposed to do. She's like, you need to go do this. Email this person, blah, blah, blah. She walked me step by step through the whole entire process. And then he ended up getting into the second school. Bishop Loughlin is like super expensive. Like I was gonna have to pay like I think like $1,200 a month. I'm like, no, I need some financial aid. Like I'm poor. And she was like, okay, write a letter explaining your situation. Because there's like some person that's in charge of giving financial aid or assistance or whatever. And when I reached out, they said they were gonna call me back. And they did not call me back. The same thing that happened with the school in Panama. Amir was supposed to go to Balboa Academy, and Balboa Academy called me once he was already accepted to the other school. And it's the same thing that happened with this school. The two schools, it was Bishop Loughlin and School B, which I will not say what school my kid goes to, but he went to School B. School B was on it. They're like, no, we want him. We want him. We want him. Went to the interview, met the principal, met the assistant principal. They interviewed us. They interviewed a mayor, and then they gave him welcome to XYZ school. And I was like, oh, well, we're just going to go here. Okay, this school has rate. It's a public school, but they wear uniform, which I love. Okay, I'm an advocate for school uniforms. School uniforms saves me so much money. You guys have no idea. School uniform saves me so much money. So I was just like, I need a school where he's wearing uniform. And this one needs school. I need schools where they're wearing uniform. And honestly speaking, the only schools that I see kids wearing uniform is charter schools. And I haven't really heard good reviews about charter schools. I don't really know the ins and out about charter schools. I was a public schools kid. So I have no idea what the charter school system is like, but I haven't heard positive things about charter school. And then, certain specific charter schools, they were getting dragged through the mud. So it kind of like scared me. I'm like, dang. But this particular school, I just love the leadership in the school, the principals, what they value, education. It aligns a lot with my beliefs. So we ended up going to that school. Once he enrolled in that school, Bishop Loughlin called me after, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we already committed to this school because you guys didn't call me back. And she was like, I'm so disappointed that we could not get him, that he couldn't come to the school. He would have been a good fit, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I believe he would have been a good fit. I feel like he would have been a good fit. I think he would have been a good fit for that school, but they responded too late. And that's okay. So he ends up going to this school or whatever. So I'm past that um, level, I guess, estapa. And now we are moving into Finding a place. That will be the next obstacle. New York City is not nice when it comes to apartments, child. Rent in New York City is the price of mortgages. It's ridiculous. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would buy a property in New York. And not because of the way it is, not because it's expensive. The taxes, property taxes, they fine you. Let me tell you something. I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was out in my car, warming up my car, and I seen sanitation driving around people's, looking at people's garbage, looking to see if they didn't recycle properly to try to give them a ticket. That's how I knew that New York City is greedy for money. No, thank you. Even like with the parking tickets, right? The parking situation in New York is ridiculous. So they got the cameras in the lights, the traffic lights. So they got the cameras. They have um you keep alternate side parking, what I think is BS. Because I was talking to Gia's dad about that today, because he lives in Jersey, and we were talking about alternate side parking. I'm like, why do you guys have alternate side parking if it's a residential block? He was like, oh, because of the street cleaners or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's stupid, because there's blocks where they have street cleaners, the street cleaning machines for alternate side, the trucks, I mean, and the blocks are still dirty. Meanwhile, there's other places where the residents, they don't have street cleaning, because apparently the residents are the one that's in charge of cleaning, and the block looks spick and span. So what are you saying? You could save taxpayers dollars and get rid of those street cleaning and make the people, or makes the residents or whoever, everybody clean in front of their house. Do they have subsidized rentals? They have what do you call those things? Oh my God. Rent stabilized buildings, which is very hard to get. Right? Rent stabilized buildings are super hard to get, because usually people who are in rent stabilized buildings, they don't want to leave. And then if the building is rent stabilized, 9 out of 10 times the landlord is not doing any renovations. Okay. So if you want to live with roaches and rats, and I mean, this is not everybody, this is not everyone's situation, but there's a problem with landlords in New York City not wanting to renovate. They don't want to renovate. They don't want to fix nothing. I was just talking to my cousin today. She's renting. And she's like, yeah, this lady, look at my wall. My wall is cracked. She's paid this amount of money in rent, and the landlord don't want to fix it. Then they get mad when they have certain rules in order. Like, I see people talk about, like, squatters' rights and this right. And, I don't believe in that. But honey, these landlords ain't easy either. Did Amir read and write in English while in school in Panama? How was the transition doing so while in? Actually, he did very, very well. So his school it was supposed to be an English school, but they still spoke Spanish. Um, they were supposed to speak full English in the school and then Spanish as a second language. They didn't do that. The kids were still speaking Spanish to each other, even though they weren't supposed to. But there were certain classes that were done in English, and then there was other classes that was done in Spanish. And then we spoke to him in English at home, so he was able to do very well on his what is it, ENL test, because he had to take a test once he got here, because he was coming from Panama, and even though he spoke English, he had to do a test to see how well he understood and spoke the language. So yes, to answer your question, he did read and write in English while in school in Panama. And the transition, I think he transitioned pretty well, but his friends are the friends. This is the thing. So before he actually started school, he was training with the soccer team for the school. So he met the kids that were going to the school prior to school starting. So when he started school, he kind of already knew people. He said like the first couple of days, it was kind of like confusing because the school is like really big. Um, and he didn't know like just how the school ran, because he's coming from a smaller private school. His school was small, and then he's in like this school that's like really huge. And the people are different. Like his school is, there's no Panamanians in his school. There's like a lot of Jamaicans, there's a lot of people from the Caribbeans, but not many. Yeah, so he said, like, that's the only thing. Like he feels like he's kind of like left out because he don't have nobody to like talk to. He's like, you see the Jamaicans that when they're in school, they speak their language with their language. See that they language to each other. I don't have that. I don't have anybody who, I guess, like no one he could speak Spanish to. So I think that is part of that, maybe the hardest transition. But he has friends though. Um, yes, English is his first language, and English, even though my parents was born and raised in Panama, their English is their first language as well. Their maternal language, is that what they call it? And then my grandmother was born and raised in Panama too, but English was her first language too. So yeah, so I think that's the adjustment. Like it was so crazy because he had told me like so when you go to school in Panama, you're not really exposed to like different cultures. You're exposed to different cultures within Panama, yes, but it's not like here in New York. Like New York is a melting pot. Like there's everyone in New York. So he's like, yeah, I met this friend from Africa. I'm like, really? Where is he from? And what part of Africa? I was like, what part of Africa is he from? He said Grenada. I said, Amir, Grenada is not in Africa. Grenada is in the West Indies and the Caribbean. He was like, oh, I thought it was African because he has an accent and he sounds African. I'm like, wow, my child really has not been exposed to no other cultures but Jamaicans and Panamanians. That's literally it. So as he's like in the school, like he's meeting people, he's like, yeah, I met such and such, and he's from Guyana, because that's how they call it in Panama. I'm like, Guyana. He's like, yeah, and this person is from this place and this person is from this place. Like I'm like, yeah. And then the other thing is that his school is predominantly black. It's a predominantly black school. And so like even like when I post like videos of them playing soccer, which here soccer is not a predominantly black sport. Okay? It's not. So people were like, so one of my friends that's a coach in Panama, he's like, what school does he go to with his all black soccer team? I'm like, oh, this is America. He was like, you know what? I love that. And I said, you know what? I never really realized it because he was going to school. When he was going to school, he was going to school with a lot of, uh, so it's, Panama is Panama. There's like, just like in America, you have Panamanians, but you all have different races of Panamanians, right? So you'll have like Asian Panamanians, mestizo Panamanians, white Panamanians, black Panamanians, like that. But the school that he went to was predominantly Asian and Spanish. The black population wasn't many, it wasn't a lot. And I was okay with that because Panama doesn't see the race the way we see race in America, which is something that I want to talk about in another live probably. The way we see race, they don't see it that way. Okay, it's very classist. Okay, it's about social class. So if you happen to be black but you are in the same school with this person, they obviously know that you guys are in the same social class because you can afford to send your kid to that school. So they're not going to look down on you because of your skin color. Now this rule doesn't apply to everyone. Okay, there's always an exception to the rule. So do not come for me. And I'm also talking about my experiences because, there's always that one person in the comments where it goes. Okay. So with that being said, I didn't really realize it at the time because I, like everybody else, was like, I don't want my son to grow up with, you know, to experience racism, even though people are racist in Panama also. That is still, yes, it's still a thing in Panama. So I didn't want him to experience it. So he was really just around a certain group of people. a certain race of people. And so going from a school where it's predominantly this kind of people, and then you go into another school where it's predominantly this, like just this group of people, it was definitely a culture shock. I believe so. Even with his taste in females, when he was in Panama, his taste in females is completely different to his taste now. And I was shocked because I was like, you told me that you like this type of girl, and she doesn't look like this girl that you was talking to in Panama. So I would 100% say it's all about environment, the environment that you are in. Um, for example, like, and I know some people might not agree with this, but I'm just going to say this, right? It's just like a lot of these football players, when they go to certain high schools, when they get recruited to play football in these certain high schools, they are exposed. I don't want to say the high school's name because I don't want, but I'm just saying these elite high schools that go out and recruit young teenagers or these young black boys to play in their team. What type of women do you think are going to be at that school? This is the reason. So literally, if they are black men and they are around a certain kind of women because of the access that they have and what they're exposed to, obviously they're going to want to date those type of females because that's what they have access to. I didn't think about it then, but it's definitely something that I thought about now because I'm like, wow, why doesn't my son like these type of females? Right? Why won't he date them? He always said he wanted someone like his grandmother when he was younger, and my mom is really dark. That when he got to high school, it kind of like changed, and I was just like, and when I would show him pictures of females, he would be like, "No, she's not cute." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? She's beautiful. Like, what are you talking about?" It's what he was around. It was definitely what he was around and what he had access to, and which is why now that he's in this school, it completely changed. I don't know if I'm making sense. Of course, there's people that have their preferences, but I also feel like a lot of people's preference is based on what they have access to and what they're around. Like when I went to high school, I went to a high school that was very diverse. However, my high school, like I'm giving you, they were Russians, Haitians. Well, we'll just group all the Caribbean people as one, and then you had like they had Russians, they had Asians, they had Indian people, so they were different groups of people, but they never intermingle with each other. So even when I went to high school and there were all these different groups of people, we never mixed. So when we were in Panama and he was going to the school, I admire that he had friends from different groups. But I also never thought about how that could affect his identity and who he is. Absolutely. I think that if he would have stayed in Panama, he definitely would have chosen different because that's what he's exposed to. Absolutely. In Panama, and we're going to keep it real. In Panama, most black men do not date black women. And most white men, well, I shouldn't say white, a lot of the ones that are like, they look mestizo a little bit, or even like the ones that are native Panamanians, when I'm saying native descendants from Indians, you will see them dating, and I'm not talking about Kuna Indians, okay? You would see them dating black women. Very rarely in Panama will you see, unless it's like from the old school, like my parents' generation, back then. Very rarely in Panama you're going to see a black couple. And I believe that if he stayed in Panama, it would have been the same thing. Now, if he gets older and he decides that he wants to date outside of his, that he is dating outside of his race, because he's trying something, okay, whatever. But at least I know that he has been exposed to all type of women. What would you have rather happen if you had stayed? He would have chosen different. What do you mean? What would you have rather happen? Like in terms of what? Like who would I want him to date? Is that what you're asking me? Regardless, I know for a fact that if he would have stayed in Panama, he would have chosen different because of who he was exposed to. His female friend group did not look like me or you. Maybe one person. And I think she was like biracial. Like if you left and now his opinion changed. Um, I still don't understand. I think I'm having a slow moment because I don't understand. So are you asking if I would have rather him stayed in Panama and date others, or would I have preferred for him to come here and date, like date black? Oh, well, so even if I stayed in Panama, the whole thing was he wasn't going to stay. He wasn't going to stay anyway because he was going to go away to school. But I didn't think about that at the time. Like I wasn't, these are things that I just recently started to think about. I didn't really put much thought into it when he was in Panama. These are things, revelations that I just came up with like recently, like, and then I seen a post saying that it's important for black boys, like even though we're putting them in certain spaces, it's super important for them to be around their own people, to know their history, to know where they're coming from. They need to know who they are. And I said, you know what? That's absolutely true. Like, I didn't think about that. Like, those weren't the things that I was thinking about in Panama. Like, when I was in Panama, I didn't think about any of that stuff. In my mind, I'm saying, I want him to have a diverse group of friends. I don't want him to be like me. Like, I don't have any friends that are not black. Let me think. I have one friend. Well, she's not really a friend, but someone that I know that's like, um, she's Panamanian, but she's like Israeli Panamanian, and we're cool, but we have not like. I never met her in person, really. Like, I never met her in person. And every time she comes to Panama, we need to connect. I'm either not there or whatever, vice versa. So we never had a chance. But I don't have any friends that's another race. Now, have I had acquaintances? Yes. But like a friendship? No, I don't. Exactly. Exactly. I love this. See, why can't I like this is why I don't like this way. But yeah, like so the whole thing is that I want him to embrace who he is, to know who he is, to know his history, because Panama does not view race the way we view race in the States. He was kind of oblivious to a lot of things. And even though I would try to teach him these things, he was not trying to hear me. He was not trying to listen to me. He was not trying to hear me. He was not having it because he didn't experience certain things. He never seen it with his own eyes. We're in Panama. Like he never experienced certain things with his own eyes. Like so, even if I'm talking about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Medgar Evers or Rosa Parks, and he has no idea who these people are. So if he has no idea who these people are, obviously they're not teaching this in Panama, okay? And they're definitely not teaching any kind of race theory in Panama. That's just not going to happen, okay? Never ever. It's not going to happen. Teaching about race theory. They have like a Black History Month where people dress up with African clothes or whatever, but that's about it. It's not really going into the depth of history of Black people in the country. So worse in America, if we're in America and if I'm talking to him about certain things, he's looking at me like I got 10 heads because that's not his reality. That was not his reality. He didn't understand why it's important to embrace your culture and who you are and you being Black, because that's not the way Panama works. Like they don't view Blackness that way. Now I will say this though, one thing that people will do, they exactly. But there are people, and I will say this, because Panama does not view race like this, a lot of us Black people that came from America went to Panama and, we're projecting this, Black expats in Panama, Black expats in Panama. There are people that are just using you guys, I'm sorry, and using the Black experience for monetary gain. Okay. I know somebody in particular, and every time I see people promoting this particular person and talking about, oh, Black this and Black this, I'm like, this person doesn't even think that he's Black. I've had conversations with this person. When you look at him, knows this, he's just light skinned. When you look at this person, he clearly looks like he's Black, but he does not view himself as a Black man unless it's benefiting him financially. What does that mean? When Black Americans go to Panama and patronize his business, when they are making TikToks about his business, drawing the Black people to support his business. And I shouldn't even have said he or she, but it is what it is. That is the only time the person utilizes Blackness. The person does not think that they're Black. I've had conversations with this person before, and the person told me that they were biracial. And I'm looking at him like, and this is why I say that Panamanians do not view race the way that we view race. They will, however, take advantage of being pro-Black and using the Black experience for them to gain financial or monetary. That is the only reason why. And don't ask me who the person is because I'm not going to tell you. So, you just got to be careful what business you patronize, because not all skin folks are kinfolk. Oh man, I left my birthday in the car. Oh, here we go. And that's the God honest truth. I'm not saying no names, child. I'm not saying no names, child. I'm not saying no names. I'm not saying no names. But I'm just saying, not everyone really believes in the Black experience. So when you go there and you like, yeah, black people in Panama, yeah, they're gonna say that yes, because they're gaining from the experience. Exactly. So it does. I agree with you 100%. It does start from home, but I think that this new generation, they think, and I don't know if it's a teenage thing because I don't remember me being this way, because growing up, I was, even though my parents were immigrants, I still love black history. Like I want to be a black history teacher. So I agree. It does start from home, but these generation of kids, they do not want to learn. You try to teach them something, it goes through one ear and out the other. Do you guys did anyone read the book Beloved by Toni Morrison? And I'm not talking about the movie, the actual book. Did you guys read the book? Or have you heard about the book? Okay, great. So Beloved, for those of you who don't know about Beloved, Beloved is it's based on um a story of a slave girl that killed her child so that her children wouldn't be born into slavery. Okay. I tried to go through this book with young adults. It is not, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a difficult book to read if you are not a reader, because the way the story is told non-linear. So what I mean by non-linear is that it's not in chronological order. It goes the character who is Setha, she's triggered. So she's telling her story, she goes into a lot of rememory. And the way the story is told is that something, if she does something, she'll go back and start talking or remembering what happened at that period, but it's not in order, right? So these kids were having a difficult time understanding the book, and a lot of them just didn't care because they felt like, why are we learning about slavery? It was so long ago. It's just not important. And this is a generation of children that we are breeding. So like even when my kid, and it's just really sad to say, they do not want to put in the work to do the research, to want to learn, they yearn for they don't have that yearning to want to learn more. I do see it in small children like my daughter. She always wants to learn something. She's curious about everything. Um, and that's like, it's hard for me to be able to tell the difference. I don't know, because I don't remember her having this eagerness when she was in Panama, but she was also younger. She's a little bit older now. So she did they were in a real school. They would color and write the letter A's and do all these things. So they did these things, but I'm not sure if it's because of the school, the private school that she was in, and the school that she's in now, because she comes home every day and she tells me things that she learned. Like everyone's like surprised, okay? How plants grow, what do plants need to grow? She'll tell you what you need to do. They need soil, they need water, they need light. Like today my sister was teaching her how to tell time with a clock. I know high school students that don't know how to use like the old clock, okay? They have no idea because they're used to using their phone, and the phone is like digital, so it'll be like 9:54. But they don't know how to read clocks. And so my sister was teaching my daughter, oh, show me 1 o'clock, make it 3 o'clock, make it 4 o'clock, make it 5 o'clock. And you can see the eagerness in young children. So I honestly think like it starts from extremely, extremely young. Okay. Pouring into your kids from young. Because I don't know, maybe if you pour into them when they're young like that, they'll grow up and want to learn. And I feel like I loved Amir's school. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I don't think the school was rigorous enough for him. And it was just too easy. I think it was just too easy for him. Because now that he's in this school, he feels like it's too much work. Now I'm not gonna lie, the school is hard. They do make them do a lot of work, but the love for learning. The child has to have a love of learning, for learning. And that's something that it has to be implemented from young, the rigor. So we started off on the right track, and then I put him in this private school, and I don't think that private school was rigor. The rigor was there. I don't think it was hard enough for him. I don't think it was challenging enough for him, because if it was challenging enough for him, he wouldn't be complaining about the work that this school is making him do. Do you follow what I'm saying? Am I making sense? So I don't know if it's just a generation thing. I don't know if it was a Panama thing. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I honestly really have no idea at this point, like really like what it is, because I do know that there are also other children who also don't like to do work. They want things given to them, with this whole chat GPT and using AI for everything. The love for wanting to learn is just not there. They want everything. I'll tell my son, he'll say to me like, oh, like let's say I say communist. Let's just say that word. He'll say, what does that mean? I'm like, look it up. Why can't you just tell me? No, look it up. If I don't know something or somebody's saying something, I'm grown and I don't know what it is, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to look it up to know what they're talking about. What does that mean? But these kids, they don't want to look up. They want everything like this. They don't want to look it up. They don't want to research. They don't want to do anything, including my kid. And this is me being just transparent. He's always like, oh, what is that? Look it up. And then when I say, you have a phone in your hand, you're on TikTok or wherever you on, look it up yourself. They don't want to do the work. So again, I don't know if it's a Panama thing. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I have no idea. Like, I really don't know what it is. And I lived in both places. And I honestly feel like now that I'm like sitting back and thinking about everything, because since I'm here, I don't feel like the school was challenging enough for him. I don't think so. I think that so he went to a like a daycare, because remember we left when he was 4. He went to it was like a school though, and he was doing multiplication and not multiplication. I'm sorry, he was doing addition and subtraction at 3 years old at that school. So he was very advanced by the time he went to Panama. And I think that because the school wasn't that challenging, it made him like, it's just too easy. I never even see a man study. And he used to pass these exams with flying colors. So now that I think about it, I don't think that it was challenging enough for him. And I can definitely take accountability for it as well. But if you don't know, you can't do better. You know what I'm saying? Whatever decisions I made, okay, so it's definitely a generational thing. Yeah, I honestly really, I have no idea. I have no idea. And I don't even know if this is something that could be even corrected. When I was working at that job that I was telling you guys about with the lady that was getting on my nerves, one of the workers that was there, he's like 27, 25, 26, 27. Like he's around that age. He would say things to me and he would do things and I'd just be like, I would never be able to do this at a job. And even with me owning my own business, I would never allow this type of behavior from my employee. He'd be like, oh, no, I'm going outside. I need a break. And he would just get up and walk out. And I'm like, okay, all right. I feel very sorry for exposure to Mae Jameson, first Black female astronaut, Michelle Obama, along with more relatable figures like Beyonce Now a billionaire, of course. Let them sit and listen to her grandma. It is. I mean, not Beyonce, child. I'm not exposing her to no doggone Beyonce. Okay, but everyone else, yes. Okay, I want her to value education, and it's crazy because we always put all this extra pressure on our daughters to excel in education and be the best. I mean, I do it to Amir too, though. I'm like, why are you settling for this when you can do this? You know what I mean? I think that this generation is just like they're okay with just getting by. I don't want that for my child. I don't want that for Gia either. And I think that with Amir, I made mistakes because I did not look at the curriculum for the school. And I also didn't know, right? So I never looked at the curriculum. I never saw what they were teaching. I never really was like, well, I mean, certain things he says, like, okay, like for example, like his Spanish class, but I don't think this is fair. He's like, the things that they're teaching in Spanish class in his school here, he learned in like second grade. So in that sense, like language, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that I get, but I'm talking about just other things, like just being exposed to other things. And then between me and you, No Child Left Behind, that was a tragedy. Luckily, my child wasn't in America, didn't grow up in America during those times, okay, with this whole No Child Left Behind business, because I think that that was what caused this issue. I think my sister had told me a story like she was in like McDonald's, I think, and a, someone was reading and they were like, so it was like mousse, like I need a mousse, whatever it was like a mousse fudge or whatever it is. And the person was like, oh, can I get a mouse fudge? They didn't know that the word was moose, not mouse. Now, how do we correct that? Because if this is the case, a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs and people that have these big corporations, they're going to have a hard time with finding workers. Okay. I don't really like, I'm not, um, I don't know. I don't know Beyonce enough to, to say those things. So, No Child Left Behind was supposed to be able to help underprivileged and students. It was supposed to be for them to be able to get quality education. However, I know people that are teachers, and I'm just saying this from another perspective. The purpose of it, I guess, the intentions, I guess, was supposed to be good. However, it did not do what it was supposed to do. There are children, and these are based on what I've seen in the streets and my friends that are teachers that tell me their experiences. Um, you're not allowed to hold kids back. So if a child is not on a specific reading level with the reading level that they should be on, you still pass them. Teachers are being held responsible for children being left back. Now, this is how I feel. Like, I feel like when I was growing up, the parents, the teachers, the school, everybody, we were one unit. Okay. We were a unit. So, for example, I was really bad at math. I was horrible in math. I had a friend that was excellent in math. She understood the teacher. She used to go through her algebra quick, and I just could not get it. I went to my parents and I told them, listen, I'm having difficulties in math. And no matter how much the teacher teaches it, I just can't get it. You know, my parents said they got me a tutor. My father was down at that school. My father had conversations with the math teacher. He tried to figure out, okay, how can we best support her? That is parents that are working together with the school system. Um, and that's kind of the things that I miss about Amir School, right? So even though now that I'm realizing that the school was not rigor, it was not rigorous, sorry, there was no rigor there, the teachers and the parents and even the parents in the class were very united. So everyone knew what was going on. If my child was acting up, the teacher will call and be like, listen, your child's doing blah, 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 blah. Let's have a meeting. Let's talk about it. This is what's going on. Nip it in the butt. I've seen parents on TikTok cursing our teachers out, cursing the schools out, doing all kind of stuff. I have friends that tell me, "Oh well, I sent my school. My son is not staying home." They send their kids like to school as for babysitting, not necessarily to learn. Now, I'm not saying this is everyone, but this is just my observation based on where I, there and here. That's like one of the things I miss the most about Panama, just the community here, especially in New York. Maybe if I was in the South, it may be different, but there's no like, I don't feel like there's no community. Like everyone is just in their own thing. The parents, I miss those little group chats. Even though I used to say, oh my God, here we go with these group chats, but now I miss it. I miss the group chats. I miss the fact that they would be like, oh, we're doing this. Like, what are we gonna do for the school? Blah, blah, blah. I miss those things. So again, pros and cons.
I see girls that are wearing labels from head to toe all day.
So I don't know. That's just my observation. And yeah. Oh my God. I've been on here for when I went 13 minutes. There's so much that I would want to say about education, the education system, period. But I just really can't go into it. But I will say this. As far as my son's school is concerned, we have someone that is on top of these kids. They have study hall. They have extracurricular, not extracurricular. Well, they do have extracurricular activities. They have tutoring for every single class, after school, study hall, tutoring for biology, tutoring for math, tutoring this and the third. They have so many resources to help these kids succeed. But we as the parent have to make sure that our kids do these things. Amir was struggling in English, I think it was, because the English that he was doing in Panama was kind of like different, even though he spoke it. The English regions, in order for you to pass the English regions, you have to do a lot of critical thinking skills, and there's like an art to critical thinking, right? Especially when it comes to this Regents exam. So a lot of times these kids have to do Regents prep. They're learning how to pass the test, but not really understanding what they're doing. They're practicing just to pass the test, which I get it. But at the end of the day, they still have to have some type of critical thinking skills. So he was having issues. This person called me like, hey, your son is having, excuse me, guys, your son is having difficulties in this subject. We have study hall on Saturday. We have Saturday school. He gonna come and tell me, oh, I'm not going. I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. He's like, oh, I don't want to go. I go to school every day. Yeah, but you're still having issues in this subject. Now, if I was the parent to be like, okay, you don't want to go. Okay, fine. No. You know what I did? I got my behind up on Saturday morning, woke his behind up, woke up my daughter, and I said, hello, get up. You're going to Saturday school. And I drove his butt to Saturday school. Because one thing that we're not going to do, you're not going to be failing classes because of laziness. Especially if the school gives you these resources. When I was in high school, I didn't have those resources. My father had to pay somebody to tutor me. The school is giving you free tutoring. So guess what? If I have to drag your behind down there, you're going to do it. The same way you jump up to go play soccer and you don't miss a tournament, you don't miss nothing, is the same way that you're going to go to Saturday school or whatever tutoring that you have to do to make sure that you get these grades up to par. And that's what we do. But could you imagine if he didn't have a parent like me that was on top of his game? And even his father, even though his father is just very annoying, his father is still very active. He pops up at the school. Um, he does all the things that he needs to do, except for the monetary part, but he makes sure that he is there. He goes to the school. He's in a group chat with me, even though I ain't put him in a group chat, but he in a group chat. He knows what's going on. If there's an issue at school and I got to go to the school, his father's at the school too. It is so crazy because one time I had to go to his school for something, and the parents coordinator told my son, he was like, you have parents that love you. You have parents that care about you. Some students don't have that at all. So if you're not a type of person that you're very strong-willed, like you really want to do something, you know you're going to do it regardless of whatever obstacles you have, children can easily fall into that, well, my parents don't care, so I don't care. If they don't feel like they have love from something or somebody, a positive influence on them, that's what's going to happen. And unfortunately, here in New York, and I'm not blaming the parents because people got to do what they got to do, especially to pay these rent. A lot of these parents, they work in 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs just to pay the rent. And if you work in 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs just to pay the rent, how do you have time for your kids? Am I making sense? See, in Panama, the parent were the ones that in American school, they were very involved. They were there, mother and father. Everybody was very involved. They loved their kids. And so you can see the difference in when you pour into your kids, how they act. And that's how it was in Panama. You see the difference when you pour into your kids. The parents were involved. Parents were involved. Even if they came from a single family, the parents were involved. At least in American school, they were. And it's the whole family. It's mother, father, grandparents on both sides, whole everybody. Oh, this is my sleep protector, guys. So anyway, guys, it was a good chat. I had a great chat with you guys. Yeah, I would try to do this more often. It just kind of depends on when my kids go to sleep. Um, in particular, Gia. It's hard. But yeah, guys, so thank you guys for tuning into this live stream, and we'll chat again. I've been on here for 1 hour and 20 minutes, so I got to go. All right, so see you guys soon. Good night.